What is going on? Really take me back to the beginning. What did Trump think was going to happen? How is this linked to Venezuela?
Yep.
Why would he do this after saying that he was the president that was going to stop all the wars?
Yep.
What is the big picture here?
And literally one of the 8 wars that he said that he had stopped was with Iran. This was not what he was voted in on. He was voted in. He ended the war in Afghanistan. I mean, he cut the deal with the Taliban. Was it a great deal? Yeah, for the Taliban, it was pretty good, but it got the Americans out. 20 years, $1 trillion fought on the backs of the Afghan people and of Americans, not wealthy Americans, not people like Trump that could find a way out of service, but poor Americans.
And Europeans.
Yeah, and Europeans who fought side by side with the Americans when the Americans asked them to, almost all of them sending troops, and many of them wounded and dying in the same numbers, the same percentages, just as courageous as the Americans were, right? So Americans wanted an end to that. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, what the hell are you guys doing? We're not benefiting from that. Stop it. Trump stopped it. So why did he do this?
Why did he do this?
I think there are 3 reasons why he did it. I'll take you through. First reason, you said Venezuela, not on this map, shouldn't be relevant to this map. Turns out it's relevant to this map. Trump had plans to take out Maduro. He's got a lot of people inside his administration that see this guy as a real problem. And by the way, a problem for the region. 8 million Venezuelan refugees destabilizing the region. Lots of drug export destabilizing the region. So he had been planning to do something.
Was it also linked to the oil?
It was relevant. They have the world's largest oil reserves. It is going to take far more years than Trump will be in office to make that meaningful. So it sounds good from a branding perspective, and you're going to see a few 100,000 more barrels a day, but it's going to be years. If you saw that testimony by the CEO of ExxonMobil, who said, Venezuela is not investable today. And Trump was angry at him. And all the other energy CEOs like, thank you for saying that. We're not saying anything. Like him, look at him, look at him. Not much courage among those CEOs publicly. So the oil is a great headline for Trump. It doesn't matter much for Trump's presidency. As we know.
Just to get some color on that, is that because they just can't, they have to build up lots of infrastructure to be able to extract it?
Oh, yeah. And because all their engineers are gone. Most of them in the oil patch up in Canada, which has similar geology to it, because they've destroyed so much of their infrastructure. It's broken down because the governance structure isn't there yet. They don't have people that are capable of actually ensuring that there will be contracts that you would follow through on, engage in, people that still have huge lawsuits that need to be resolved, right? So all of this stuff. But to get to your, I don't want to lose sight of your why did Trump do this in Iran? So the first point is beginning of the year. Trump goes in to Venezuela, right? It is the most successful military operation you can possibly imagine. Not a single American serviceman or woman is killed. They go in, they take Maduro out. They don't kill him. They don't injure him. They bring him to a jail in Brooklyn, right here in New York, outer borough, but still counts, New York City, right? Extraordinary. And he's facing justice. And meanwhile, Delcy Rodriguez, right, suddenly vice president becomes acting president. It's like, sir, we want to work with you guys. We don't want any of that, right? And so you've got a new government that has a different trajectory, but it's basically the same regime. And they say, whatever you want, we will work on. We'll open our oil sector. We'll open our mining sector. We'll have better regs. We'll try to improve the economy for the average Venezuelan. I mean, they're starting to become popular. In another year, if they had elections in Venezuela, it is not inconceivable that she would win. In a democratic election, which is like blows your mind, right? Hundreds of political prisoners they've released. I talked to leaders all over South America. They all think this was a success. This is enormously popular among the populations in those countries because they care about security. That's what they've been voting on. Their elections have been about the economy and local security. And Venezuela has been a problem for them, right? I mean, they're exporting people causing crime. Colombia, Peru, Brazil, Chile, right? This has been a serious issue. So Trump is hugely feeling great, successful. And now he's like, I can do that in Iran. I can do it even bigger. So that's the first reason. I said 3 reasons. That's the first reason. Second reason, this is not Trump's first rodeo with the Iranians. In his first presidency, the Iranians were engaging in strikes against the Americans directly and with proxies, bases in Iraq, other places. Also, were taking on strikes against the biggest refinery in the world in Saudi Arabia, those drone strikes you may remember. The Saudis and the Emiratis were telling the Americans, when are you going to do something? We need to take some action. Trump didn't want to do anything. They were getting angry, right? Mm-hmm. Finally, the end of his presidency, he orders, pretty bold move, the assassination of this incredibly charismatic military leader, Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force, as it was called in Iran. And Iran was so angry. And they were going to destroy the United States. Death to America. What did they actually do? Nothing. And then, last June, Iranians are developing their ballistic missiles. They're developing their nuclear enrichment. In uranium enrichment, they're like stockpiling at higher levels, 60%. And the Israelis want to go in. Trump's providing intelligence. He doesn't want to go. Kind of dangerous. The Israelis go in. It's enormously popular. It's going well, succeeding. Trump's like, I want a part of that. That's successful. So he joins in. Second time, Israel took casualties, about 100 killed, I think, in the course of that 12-day war. The United States, Iran talked big, did not hit the Americans. They threw some missiles at that Al Udeid base in Qatar, the biggest U.S. base. They warned the Americans through Iraq before the missiles were launched. So it was very clear the Iranians didn't want any part of that fight. So Trump is thinking to himself, this is going to be awesome because I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull Venezuela in Iran. I know they don't want to fight me. I killed the supreme leader, 86 years old. He's going to die anyway. He's not that popular among the Iranian, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC, because they're the ones that really run the country. I'm going to have this huge military force that shows what I'm capable of doing. Then the rest of the Iranian leadership, they're going to want to work with me, just like they did in Venezuela. So that was reason number two. And then the most important reason. The most important reason is that unlike Trump's first term, where he had people around him that were patriotic first and foremost to the country. And when they had disagreements with Trump, they let him know. And they leaked. And they also were willing occasionally to do what they could to undermine an incompetent decision that would hurt the country. And we saw that whether it was with Mike Pompeo or Mad Dog Mattis, right? All of these people who were much more independent, strong actors. This time around, Trump has some really good advisors, people like Marco Rubio and Scott Bessent. He also has some staggeringly incompetent advisors, like Pete Hegseth, for example. But what they all share is that they are first and foremost loyal to the president. And they will not tell him. They won't push back. And what he hears from them is shaded towards how brilliant he is. And that makes him think that he will be more successful even when the military thinks this is a horrible idea. And we just saw this with the reporting from the head of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, who clearly thinks that this is a really bad idea and understands that the military scenarios are super dangerous and that the Iranians will be able to shut down the strait. And every military in the U.S. for the last 20, 30 years has gamed out how the Iranians could shut down the strait in a major conflict. And Trump hears very little of that. And he's taking away, I'm incredible, I'm confident, I'm going to make this happen. Those are the reasons he went in.
And so he thought it would be take out the supreme leader, then they'll negotiate, we'll get a better deal, we'll have a political system there or political leader there that is obedient to us.
Yeah, it'll be maybe, it won't be a day, but it's not going to be a month.
And what actually happened?
That did not happen. What actually happened is the Americans took out, well, the Israelis took out the supreme leader and also took out a lot of the military leadership that the Americans had been speaking to, which is why Trump came out and he said, well, a lot of the guys we're talking to are dead now, so we don't really know who to work with. He said that even if it's true, and it was, you don't want the president saying that, right? He has no filter. Which is one of the more interesting things about this presidency. What happened is the Iranian leadership was taken out. The response was immediately what they call this mosaic situation, where they decentralized the military decision-making to local commanders.